So when we moved here to Colorado, we found our home and we found our people. And we had our 5 children. We raised them all here. And other than the times that the Navy has deployed me somewhere else, this has been the place that we've called home for all these many years. That was never more clear to me than when in 2009, I deployed to Afghanistan for a year. So my kids at the time were 10, 8, 6, 4, and 1 years old. During that time, our friends and neighbors just came through for us in ways that I will never forget. Not only did they make my husband and my kids meals multiple times a week, but they would take my kids to activities and they would send me care packages. So I felt that that was a debt to the people of Colorado that I could never really repay. They gave me the home that I'd always wanted, and they took care of my family in our greatest times of need. I retired from the Navy. I went on serving active and reserve. My last 5 years were on active duty. First as the defense attaché to New Delhi for 3 years in India. And then my last 2 years were at the White House working at the National Security Council as the senior director for South Asia. And I was so happy when I retired. Then I felt the need to do something one more time for our country and for our nation. And the reason for that is this. I first raised my hand and took the oath to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, when I was 17 years old, when I went to the Naval Academy. And never in all of the last 38 years, a long, long time, have I felt it under the pressure that I do today. So why this and why now? And the reason is really twofold. What I see going on in our country and also what I see going on in Congressional District 4. So I feel strongly that the people of Congressional District 4 deserve better representation than what they're getting. They deserve someone who is a serious person, who has spent a lifetime putting service before self, right? Who has put my country ahead of everything, and my country ahead of my family. When we felt that we wanted our children to know that we believe that there are things that are bigger than us as individuals, and there are things that are worth sacrificing for, and there are things that are worth dying for. And I believe the United States of America is that thing. We need someone like that in this district. And the things that Congresswoman Boebert has been doing are hurting the people of Congressional District 4. I think all of you know the realities of Congressional District 4. This is going to be hard, right? This is going to be a challenging district to win. But I think that as someone who is a veteran, as someone who is serious, as someone who has spent my career working in a nonpartisan environment in challenging situations, right? Where I've worked many times abroad, working with other countries, both in Afghanistan and when I was in India, working with other countries who have, with whom we need to work and find ways to cooperate, but we do not see eye to eye on everything. But I was able to drive those relationships forward because I believe that I believe in what I like to call the Venn diagram of relationships. So if you think of all relationships as a set of overlapping circles, right? And I would talk to the Indians about this a lot. And I would say, you know, my husband and I, and this is a bit of an exaggeration, I would say my husband and I have circles that are like nearly 98% of overlap. That's where the exaggeration is, folks. So I adore my husband. He is really like just the best man. And I can focus on the fact that he is an amazing husband and a wonderful father and kind and funny and intelligent and hardworking. Or I can focus on the fact that he's never going to load the dishwasher quite the way I want him to. And frankly, that's just a waste of time, right? And we do that too much all of the time. And I find that we are doing that in America today. I think that most Americans agree on a whole chunk of things. And instead of focusing on that area of overlap, on the things that we agree on, we are allowing ourselves to get distracted by the things on the fringes, right? We need to focus on the area of overlap. And that is my goal when I get to Congress. When I get to Congress, my goal is to think about what can we agree on? What do we have in common? So it can be simple. It could be something like maternal health care, right? So we want less women to die in childbirth. That's something everybody wants, right? Who would ever argue with that? So let's work on that. Let's work on legislation that's going to do that. We want children to be safer in schools. We want our kids not to be. Two of my three grandkids live in Minnesota, and they went to school. They started school the week after that horrible school shooting that happened there, right in that church. And my oldest daughter called me in tears, saying, how do I send the kids to school next week? And we don't want our kids and our grandkids to have to think about that, right? So we all agree on that. We all agree that when we want children to be safer in school, let's figure out how do we go about doing that. Let's look at ways to build out results on things that we agree with. Then if you start getting to the point that you've made that a habit of cooperation, a habit of bipartisan work together, then you can build and expand. Then you can push the circles closer together. And you can realize we have much more in common. There are many trickier things that we can work on together, right? That's what America has to get back to. That's the way that we need to be. So that is the reason that I think I'm the right person for this job and for this mission. I believe that I can convince people who maybe have never thought of checking a box next to someone's name that had a D in front of it to think a different way, right? To think to themselves that sure, this person is a Democrat, but there's someone who cares about service. There's someone who believes that the job of the representative is to represent every single person in that district, not just the people that vote for me, not just the people that agree with all the things that I believe in. As a military person, I didn't serve only the American citizens who thought that the United States Navy was a great organization, right? I served all Americans.